True. True.
Go for it. Has pros and cons, but
Yeah.
We're going to start the camera. It went right away today. Where's his magic? I know.
it's like I have no idea. The answer is
10 seconds. It's 6 o'clock. We'll start I'll call the meeting to order on October 9th. If you could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for being here. Tonight we'll start before the preliminary items with Bill.
So I want to take a moment to publicly recognize our board members in honor of School Board Recognition Week, which is next week. Serving on a school board is one of the most important forms of public service, and it's also one of the most challenging. Each of you devotes countless hours studying issues, reviewing policies, and making thoughtful decisions that directly impact our students, staff, and families. You also volunteer your time to serve on various school and district level committees, further contributing your expertise and insight to strengthen our schools. You do this work not for recognition, but because you care deeply about this learning community and the success of every student who walks through our doors. Strong schools are the foundation of a strong community, and your leadership helps keep Hamilton Central strong. You model collaboration, accountability, and commitment, values that ripple throughout our district. On behalf of our entire learning community, I want to express my sincere gratitude for all that you do to support our schools, our mission, and most importantly, our students. So thank you. You have goodie bags that have been put together with some thank you notes and some treats in there. So we would just like to thank you for all you do on behalf of Hamilton Central. So thank you.
These little cards are my favorite.
Thank you. I'll look at them all later. Put that one this way. Do we have any items for consideration for the agenda tonight?
We do not.
I need a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
I'll move.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Need a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting on September 11th.
I'll move.
Second. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
That brings us to our district presentations. Tonight we've asked King and King to come back to speak with us about the capital project, to have a discussion about our capital project. They're both virtual and in person. So thank you, all three of you, for being here this evening, and I'll turn it over to you.
I think Paul's going to lead us off. He's got a presentation handy if we need to refer to.
Great. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for your time again. We just wanted to keep this brief tonight, but as you consider the proposed capital project, we wanted to recap and just as a reminder and give confidence to everyone involved, as well as the public who's considering this project. Just the thorough planning process that went into the proposed project. Just remind us all that it's been 3 years in the making. It began back with the 2022 Building Condition Survey. We just remind you that all the scope items addressed in the project, particularly dealing with the existing bus garage, and then all the infrastructure work, both site work and at the school building itself, were all identified as items that were reaching the end of their useful life or in need of significant repair or reconstruction. These were all noted and identified in at least one, if not 2 or 3 series of the last building condition surveys, which again are done every 5 years, and it's just an analysis of your building and your site and all. So again, it all began with a building condition survey, and then went through a very thorough and honestly difficult process. As you remember, the maximum cost allowance for the K-12 building in particular limits work, at least work that the state will provide building aid for, to just under $25 million within this 5-year cycle. We actually identified more than $56 million in work that in an ideal world wouldn't be done in the next 5 years. So obviously there was a real process of whittling down what were the most critical items. The district spent a lot of time thinking through, again, how does the BCS and this infrastructure type work align with also school programs and educational needs within the district. All these items were rolled into what we call a long-range plan, and again went through a pretty intensive prioritization process. We've presented to the board on, this would be our 5th occasion through this whole process, sort of identifying our steps and hopefully bringing everyone along the way as we went through this process, leading to tonight. So we're excited to be at this point, and really just wanted to remind everyone that strategically there's a lot of things that align in this project through both propositions that accomplish a significant amount within the district. With the bus garage, we're able to do far more paving than just a project at the K-12 building would allow. So I do want to point out that all paving is part of Proposition 2. That is strategic and to the district's advantage from a financial standpoint in particular. And so with all that in mind, again, we just wanted to remind you of make those connections to the larger process here, and really be available to you tonight just to answer any questions or concerns. So I know Chad and Patrick are right there in the room, and so we turn it over to you at this point.
Questions?
Amanda, you had some questions prior to the meeting. Do you have anything specific right now? You had questions?
No, I think I had asked a clarifying question. It is true that the paving that happens in Proposition 2, is there also money allocated in Proposition 1 for paving? And that if we do Proposition 2, then that money can be reallocated for other work in Proposition 1? Not paving, maybe maintenance or something? No.
The paving in Proposition 1 will accomplish basically repaving the bus loop in its current configuration and nothing beyond that.
Right.
So and that's been so those costs have been factored in. So if Proposition 1 and 2 pass, then the dollars that were originally assigned for the original bus loop would then just be used and applied to our new configuration, which obviously we modify the bus loop and rethink the whole entry. And again, let me just point out again, Proposition 2 is far more than just the bus garage, but really is a much larger strategic move to improve bus, car, and pedestrian safety across the entire site. And I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but I just like to restate all this. Did I answer your question?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I think one of the biggest things for me when we were watching the presentation last, please tell me if I'm not speaking loud enough, sorry, was why are we doing some of the things like moving or covering the dumpsters, right? Like that seems like a little thing, do we have to do that? But it's a little thing that adds into the larger cost. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Sure, I think there are a few, something simple like the dumpsters, and again, we try to be pretty granular in our presentation to you, just so that you really knew the nuts and bolts of what was going on. But a couple of those moves were really looked small cost items, but more to just continue to clean up and part of a larger process of making the site and the building just more approachable and a little bit, I don't want to oversell this, I mean, building a fence around a dumpster isn't much of a beautification process, but it is a move to just try to clean up the site and be a little more organized and orderly around the site in general.
And that works within the cost allowance and such, hitting us to that total, right?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And we will have more opportunities along the way during design to just continue to vet and watch the budget very closely and make sure that we stay within what has been authorized. And so those items, if need be, or if a larger issue arises, there is some minor flexibility in that scope. And so if an item like the dumpster just was no longer required, no one thought it was a priority, it's certainly, smaller items like that can certainly be rethought. We have a little bit of flexibility on that front. But for now, we just try to be really transparent with the whole process and what all the items, down to the little tiny nuts and bolts items like that, just so you could understand what was in the project. So it made it above the cut line because it was a small item actually.
Right, okay.
And it did not really have a significant impact.
And I don't know if this question's more for Matt or for you, but can you just talk a little bit more about the aidable piece of it?
Sure, I can start. I can't hear if Matt's talking, so
He's not yet.
Stop I can hear Michelle fine. But, so again, from an aid standpoint, just going back to the basics of maximum cost allowance, it's a archaic formula that I quite honestly can't explain, and I don't think anyone can anymore. It's so outdated, but again, it is what it is. It's a process that creates a maximum expenditure for the district on a rolling 5-year process. If you stay essentially within those expenses, then you get building aid at your local rate, which for Hamilton I think is in the high 70s, 77% possibly. And so again, you get that aid on these dollars. And so we have really targeted to stay in that range and to not go over that, so that essentially most all of your work will receive building aid.
Okay.
And it gets even more granular. I don't want to waste anyone's time, but there's what's called incidental and construction buckets of money within that, where it further gets broken down. Site work, unfortunately, is considered incidental, and so which is the smaller bucket. And so that's where site work, for a small district, often are so difficult to accomplish any site work of consequence because the budget is so limited. And so again, that's why I specifically pointed out that doing the bus garage does give you some advantages to accomplishing far more site work. Paving that could carry you. I don't want to oversell how long paving works. Patrick can correct me here, but 20 to 25 years. That this won't be an item that's constantly coming up for the district. How close was I, Patrick?
20 years is pretty good, yeah. 20 years plus.
20, okay, good. Yeah. And so, again, and then the bus garage and everything that the state is allowing us to apply to the bus garage right now, which is both the demolition of the existing bus garage, the construction of the new facility, and essentially all the paving from essentially the bus loop going, get my direction straight here, going east all the way to the stadium, essentially will be applied to the bus garage. Thankfully, transportation projects do not have a maximum cost allowance cap. So we're able to accomplish a large amount of site work directly tied to demolition and new construction of the transportation facilities. So,
Thank you. Other questions?
I also have a question about the budget breakdown. On the slide that you guys presented last month, my question is about the local share and the percentage of that. So we have Prop 1 and Prop 2 combined is 39.8 million. I see the 91% aidable and 86 aidable for Prop 2, and the aid ratio being 76. I just want to make sure I'm reading this correctly. 76% would be of that aidable amount, right?
correct. Correct. So essentially, yes, if we're looking at this, where we say, for the, starting on Prop 1, approximately 91% of that is aidable. That's because one, your fiscal advisors are fairly conservative in what they are recommending or the figures they're putting together. So they usually use a 95 or 96% of the project is aidable. While more than likely, when we go through it, we think, you know, probably a higher number, but again, they're being conservative, which is to your advantage to just use conservative numbers at this stage. So that 91% may go up slightly. The other piece of that, again, is some of the site work that's tied to the K-12 building that we could not move to the bus garage. So overall, yes, 91% of the 24.8 will receive 76% aid. That's quite a mouthful right there. So does that make sense?
That makes sense. So the local share would effectively be about 68% with Prop 1 and Prop 2 combined?
Yeah, I haven't done the math to get to that percentage, but yes, that is truly a worst case scenario. And unfortunately, we can't paint a rosier picture, or it's not in anyone's advantage to assume anything better than that. But this really is worst case scenario. We continue to further negotiate with the state education department, particularly regarding some decisions they made on the bus garage. I think we covered it a little bit at the last meeting, that they wanted to assume that 18% of the transportation project, the bus garage project, was not aidable. We think that number is smaller, but it's going to take us some time to try to negotiate something better. So again, really worst case scenario on the local share numbers. And we continue to work to improve it. Just because you pass a resolution that says the district is authorized to use this money doesn't mean they necessarily will. And if the whole project can be delivered for less, and certainly less local dollars, we certainly will work towards that. So a big piece of that really is this SED determination on how much of the bus garage is aidable versus non-aidable. I'll remind you, a portion of the bus garage has to be non-aidable because of particularly the toilet rooms, which is the biggest sort of piece of the unaidable area. The toilet rooms are absolutely required. It's a New York State code requirement. And so the district, without toilet facilities out at the stadium, really is opening yourselves up to a certain amount of risk and liability by not meeting code. So you do need those public facilities adjacent to the stadium and the grandstands.
Thank you.
Other questions from the board?
Good.
John, questions? No? Good.
All answered, very thorough, thank you.
Thanks.
Amanda, anything else? No? Thank you very much.
Thanks, Paul.
Fantastic. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Paul.
Guys, anything to add? You good? No? Okay, good.
Nothing else to say.
Right?
Well,
Very
thank you
thorough.
for coming out.
Patrick, do you have schema? You have? Yeah. Take those. This is the. Yeah.
Are you presenting this?
You are assuming correctly. Next up is our summer curriculum presentation, so we'll turn it over to our wonderful teachers that joined us tonight.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chad.
All right, good evening. So I'm presenting upon the summer curriculum project that I worked on, which was ongoing curricula with the Earth and Space Science curriculum that was implemented last year, brand new. And as I stated many times last year, we were duct taping the plane as we were flying and trying to maintain some sanity. And I think we got there according to the test results. So. What I ended up doing over the summer is I not only looked at that June Regents, I also then, once the August 25th Regents was given out, I examined all of those. Prior to that, we only had a bank of about 25, 30 questions, 5 clusters of sample questions. They were not the best style, as I'm learning through more and more of my professional development. So now that we are seeing Regencies, we saw a big discrepancy between the two Regencies as well. The June was written prior to the reference table being even delivered and submitted from the state. So August saw more of the reference table. It also saw a more even distribution of all of the standards. June did not. June was very heavy on certain and absent on many. So just seeing how the state is asking these, especially because we are modeling what we're seeing as grade 3 through 5, 6 through 8, and now into the high school levels. So that's where my secondary work went, to figure out what's happening at those levels. Those are the building blocks to the high school Regencies. And then, as we are going to be continuing the PD tomorrow, but I looked at our BOCES data. That's one of my favorite things to look at, is the breakdown of each individual test question. How did my students do? How did that compare to BOCES? How did that compare to the RIC? And am I on the right path? But that also gives me data to tell me how much of a percentage of my students actually understood that concept. Was it the test question? Was it my delivery? So I did a lot of analysis of all of that data initially. Like our meandering stream here, we are still trying to build and learn and edit and continue on straight forward. So I took a lot of looking and editing, subtracting, because apparently I was aiming up here and I didn't have to aim that high. So I took it back a few steps, which was helpful, especially with the two Regencies. Edited some of that content, added to it, so I was able to take a look and add more supplemental practice questions, more additional mini formal assessment quizzes, better assess with our unit tests. Because prior to that, I was utilizing the cluster questions, the 1 year worth of 5th and 8th grade state tests, and stuff like New Visions, pulling from there to try and grab some sort of a test bank initially. And in doing so, I also wanted to further, as I mentioned last year, I was still trying to wrap my head around all of the science and engineering practices. So I've been able to alter some of the labs I've done, created new labs, edited labs to make them more aligned to our SEPs and our CCCs. Like our 5 spheres of climate, I am continuing to collaborate. I am not my own house. I am my own house here, but I am not I grow better with other people inputting. So in doing so, I work with a lot of the other local Earth and Space Science teachers. I also have been collaborating with them to see how did they feel with the tests, what was good on their end, what I could improve on my end. Partially, I'm continuing the professional development. Now that the 2 regencies have been out, I'm going to continue my work with Dr. Peck and Dr. Berry at Colgate to now see what can we do with some of the phenomena that are being introduced in our state tests and how I could better understand and better appropriately deliver that to our students. And then obviously I'm continuing to look through PD. So over the summer, we took a look through some of how our regencies and other local state tests phrased the type of the questions. And that's really the big end goal that we're trying to go for, is how can we get them familiarized with the phrasing of these questions, since it's no longer just, do you know these straight up facts? Do you understand how to science and engineering practice in the cross-cutting concepts that tie with that? And that kind of ties into the professional development we did earlier today during our half day. Continuing on, I'm going to keep plowing through just like our beautiful tornado. I'm going to continue to try and figure out better ways to bridge that gap that our students have currently still of all the science and engineering practices, making sure they are up to grade level and are feeling confident with it. There was a lot of hesitancy over the last couple of years throughout all our grades, especially last year. I know there was a lot of anxiety, not knowing what was happening, but we were trying our best. So I'm going to continue to plug through Paul Anderson's Wonder of Science, because that's what he does full time, is breaks it down and figures out grade band as well as content standard and the DCI versus the science and engineering practice versus cross-cutting relationship. I'm going to continue to dig through the new visions. It is hundreds of pages of a curricula, and so cherry picking what is good. And in doing so, I'm talking with some of my colleagues and how this lesson doesn't really work. This unit is way too long. I wish you could edit that. Unfortunately for them, but fortunately for me, I'm able to take that and edit it and make it more applicable to our students. And Inner Orbit has recently been coming out and adding test questions that, as of right now, are about 2-dimensional, not full 3-dimensional learning for science, but they are continuing to edit. So I want to continue to pull from their test bank as they're continuing to learn the Earth and space science stuff. So it is the tip of the iceberg, and we are continuing to float along and trying to do our best as we are traveling throh tumultuous waters. So I thank you very much.
What is 3-dimensional?
So there's 3 aspects to our content now. So there's the content, which is kind of what most everything was focused on prior to with the 1996 MST standards. The science and engineering practices, the how do you do the science, and then the cross-cutting relationships, the how is this all connecting together.
Oh, okay.
So you can't really have one without the other. And as the analogy earlier today was given, it's like a string is only so strong, but if you have 3 woven together, it's a lot tighter.
Oh, thank you.
Well, nice work
Yeah.
trying to figure out what the state is doing. Give you a lot of credit for that, and thank you for the presentation.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Tanya.
it.
Thank you.
That's okay.
Doesn't matter. All right. So 5 of us worked together to try and put together elementary science and middle school science and make sure that we were vertically aligned and helping each other through that method, because as I mentioned previously, I have a whole slew of peers that have been helping me with my specific Earth and space science standards, but within each other, we can definitely help each other. And Celia, unfortunately, is not able to be here tonight, but she created this beautiful slide deck for us.
So we wanted to make sure that we're a very small building. We wanted to make sure we were vertically aligned from PK to 12. So we, the 5 of us sat down and we went through the standards. They're very difficult to read. They're very difficult to understand. So we spent some time reviewing the standards for each of the grade levels, and then we went through and really picked the vocabulary. Is in the 5th grade test in our grade levels, it is heavy reading dependent. So again, we looked through those phrases and vocabulary. We made sure that we were being intentional in our instruction and making sure that our lessons, there's the practices, the 3D learning, but within those dimensions of learning, there's also different levels that you have. So you have the basic level and you have more advanced, and it goes up to 4 stages. So we want to make sure that our lessons weren't at the super top, but also that they are aligning in the, so that they're hitting the levels and they're hitting them at the appropriate level for the testing, and the vocabulary is what we found is most tricky for our students at the elementary level.
You got it?
I don't care.
Okay.
So we kind of, just to reiterate what Liz said, but we really just worked really hard together, all of us. Susan and I, both teaching 3rd grade, we went into every one of our modules of our science kits and really honed in on the vocabulary so that we could figure out like what vocabulary was most important in each unit, so that we could make sure to touch on all of that. And hopefully as we go, and then by the time they get to 5th grade, they'll have seen most of the vocabulary that's on that really tricky state assessment, so that just, they don't have to spend so much time interpreting the words and just understand, being able to answer the science questions. So we were able to really develop a good plan for how we want to teach that, and just make sure that we were, like Liz said, hitting on all of those science to engineering practices and cross-cutting concepts, and making sure that those are like displayed in our rooms and things that the kids see all the time, so that it becomes just normal, common language that we use day to day.
And Celia and I focused in on leading up to 8th grade. What can we provide for the 8th grade teacher as review of, yes, you did this last year or the year before, but let's do a little mini review of what your teachers did. So we developed review curricula to be utilized by the 8th grade teacher.
Because it is a 3-year test, so it's content, anything from 3rd to 5th grade can be on the assessment, and it is cognitive overload if you don't, if you aren't really intentional in making sure you're reviewing. And we're lucky that our curriculums like science, and so it's very helpful.
And coupled with that, whatever's tested on there is subject and fair game for middle school, and therefore fair game for high school, so it builds upon itself.
So it's not just your standards anymore.
So we've already started to implement this in 3rd grade, since we are the first grade level that has the investigations in the elementary. So it is a lot for an 8-year-old to swallow all of those vocabulary terms. So Ashley and I were able to go through all of our modules and our investigations and look at what module touches base on what vocabulary. I don't know if you can see it, but some of the terms are just a lot. And when you're speaking everyday science to a colleague, you're like, yeah, that's easy. But for an 8-year-old to understand how to evaluate and analyze the data that's provided, and all of these terms that we're just speaking, and we're like, wait a second. So we've already started a vocabulary journal for the kids, and it's surprising how much knowledge they have, just kind of talking about the words and coming up with synonyms, and how would you use this word in a science experiment. So we've already started a bunch of this work in our classes, but again, it was just wonderful over the summer to, obviously Tanya is a wealth of knowledge, as was Celia, as was Liz, so just for all of us to kind of collaborate and talk about what we need to dig at, and the materials and things that Tanya was able to supply to us was so valuable. So for that time, we appreciate so much.
So going forward, those conversations led to, we have a need here at our school. And so that's why I did bring up to Bill in the summer, and that's why we had the PD earlier today, where we took all of elementary, secondary science, and any other supporting staff, and we continue to dig into and kind of open everyone's eyes of, this is not an easy thing, but we wanted to give that access. So I brought in Jonathan Cornu and Carly Pang to figure out a little bit of a base of understanding today. But yeah, we're going to continue trying to see what comes out available and continue to discuss and work and dig through, because it's a big dig.
And again, that PD that was today was really eye-opening also because we were able to talk to, the biology teacher who is also using these terms, and, we're doing the, claim, evidence, reason. And she was like, oh my gosh, you guys are doing that in third, we're doing that up at the high school level. So the fact that it's happening already is amazing. So we appreciate it, thank you. Questions?
Wondering, especially for those of you in the elementary, do you have a chance to do this kind of vertical alignment in other subjects? Has this happened in other areas?
We have our intermediate meetings. They're held once a month, and we do a lot of curriculum work during those times. So we analyze data, we look at different subject areas, we look at our test scores. I believe we're looking at test scores tomorrow that's similar to the BOCES, and we're able to see the strengths of our students and areas where we would have to go above our instruction in certain standards. What's tricky is the state's never consistent, so as teachers, we feel like we have to teach everything all the time, but there is patterns emerging and trends that are emerging that these are what our essential standards are, and so we focus heavily. But yes, we do have a
Within the
lot.
elementary, not
Not so much. This was
secondary.
wonderful today,
This
being
was
able
really
to
great,
work with
yeah.
a high school and middle school, and just you can see the alignment. We're such a tiny school, it was
Yeah.
really wonderful to get everybody's perspective and really, hear everybody's thoughts and expertise.
And it's
Yeah.
nice for us to know, like, what can we do to help them be more prepared, so it is.
And on the other hand, what are you doing that I can help support, or,
Yep.
Yeah, it seems like that in other areas would be.
Yes, we
Yeah.
do. We have monthly meetings where we have that in the elementary, the 3-5 and PK2. But not very often are we able to get together as a whole school. But it is wonderful when it does happen.
Great, thanks.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate the time you put in.
Great. Thanks.
And although I know how much you want to stay, we hope that you go home and finally have dinner or whatnot. So thank you again for everything. Excuse me. Swear I'm not sick. Right. That brings us to our consent agenda. Today it's 3.1 through, hold on.
Nope.
4.1.
It's 4.1 through 5.2. Those are the numbers. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as recommended by the superintendent?
I'll move.
A second.
Any discussion on those items? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That brings us to our first community participation time. If you're online, please feel free to type in if you have a comment, and we will get to it. If you are in the building and the audience and would like to come forward, you may. Please remember that we do have a policy with a time limit, and we hope that you follow the policy. Podium's open. Seeing nobody jump to your feet, there is another time if you choose to speak later. We will move on. Personnel, we have a motion to accept the resignation of Maureen Shaw, teacher, bus aide for retirement purposes, effective June 30th, as recommended by the administrative team and the superintendent, with sincere appreciation for services rendered to the district.
I'll move.
Second.
Discussion would be an executive session. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And congrats. Motion to approve the appointment of Wendy Van Steinberg as probationary part-time teacher bus aide, effective October 14th, as outlined in the recommendation form and as recommended by the Director of PPS and Superintendent.
I'll move.
Good.
Discussion would be an executive session. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I need a motion to approve the addition of Frank Morzella as a substitute list for the role of school bus driver as recommended by the administrative team and superintendent.
A second.
Discussion would be an executive session. All those in favor? Aye. I need a motion to approve the following coaches for 25-26 school year as provided, contingent upon significant participants as recommended by the athletic coordinator and superintendent.
Second.
Any discussion? I'm looking at it quickly, sorry.
I think there was only one.
Just one.
Okay, perfect.
Modified volleyball.
Modified volleyball, so. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Need a motion to approve the advisors and volunteers for the 25-26 middle school production as provided per contractual language and as recommended by the secondary principal and superintendent.
I'll move.
Second.
Any discussion? Thank you to those helpers. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I need a motion to approve the advisors and volunteers for the 25-26 spring musical as provided per the contractual language and recommended by the secondary principal and superintendent.
Move.
Second.
Any discussion?
I just like to always publicly note that I am listed on there as a volunteer.
And thank you to all of them. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion to approve the extracurricular, co-curricular advisors for 25-26 school year as provided per contractual language as recommended by the elementary principal, secondary principal, and superintendent.
I'll move.
Discussion? Will be an executive session. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion to approve the appointment of Suzanne Florenz as part-time food service helper effective October 14th as recommended by the food service manager and superintendent.
Second.
Discussion would be an executive session. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Need a motion to approve the recommendation of the committees on special education and preschool special education.
A second.
Discussion would be an executive session. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, I need a motion to approve the following resolution. Do I need to read the resolution for this one? I thought so. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Hamilton Central School District approves the agency agreement with Syracuse University for the purpose of facilitating work or field work opportunities for university students within the district. The agreement shall be in effect from November 1st, 2025 through October 31st, 2030. The superintendent is hereby authorized to execute said agreement and take all necessary actions to implement its terms.
A second.
Discussion?
It's a great opportunity. It's exciting, I think.
Yeah.
Do we get a lot of people from Syracuse to come and?
Depends on the year.
Okay,
Yeah.
great, awesome. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I need a motion to accept the following monetary donations with sincere appreciation and increase the budget by these amounts as recommended by the business manager and superintendent.
I'll move.
Second.
Any discussion? Thank you to the
Thank
First
you.
Baptist Church Deacons Fund, to the Hamilton Sports Boosters, and to the Grammar Jacobson family.
Actually, it's
Mike and
Mike and
Melissa.
Melissa Knoll
Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
Mike and Melissa Knoll.
via the Sports Boosters.
See, I just read by the bowl.
Yeah.
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 Sorry, the Knowles family.
Yeah.
Thank you, Knowles.
Thank you so much.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you for correcting me.
Sure.
I need a motion to approve Hamilton's participation with the following combined sports programs for 25-26 school year as recommended by the athletic coordinator and superintendent. This is for the boys varsity ice hockey. It's combined with Cazenovia Central School for a possibility of probably 5 students.
I'll move.
A second.
Any discussion?
Thank you, Casanova.
Yeah, thanks.
And have fun to those kids if they're playing.
Mhm.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I need a motion to approve the following SEQRA resolution pertaining to the capital improvement project. And this is a roll call vote,
Just need a motion.
so we need a motion.
I'll move.
Second?
Discussion? Roll call goes up there. Up there.
Aye.
Corey,
Aye.
Amanda,
Aye.
Jen,
Aye.
Michelle.
Aye. That motion is passed. I need a motion to approve the master's trip for 25-26 school year as provided and recommended by the secondary principal and superintendent. The board does reserve the right to cancel the trip if circumstances should arise concerning the safety of the students.
I'll move.
Second?
Any discussion?
Very glad we're doing this again. It's a great opportunity for our students.
It is.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I need a motion to approve the following resolution pertaining to the capital improvement project.
I'll move.
Second?
This is also a roll call vote.
Son,
Aye.
Corey,
Aye.
Amanda,
Aye.
Jen,
Aye.
Michelle.
Aye. Motion passes. And that brings us to the superintendent's report.
So I just have two things to add, in addition to my written report that was submitted. NYSID has put out a school board need to know that's pertaining to the portrait of a graduate. So I'll pass those out. You can look at that for your reference. It's talking about local relevance, the CRSE at the core. That's the culturally responsive sustaining education framework. Authentic application, student performance, shared values, and strategic alignment. So those are the topics that the board should be considering as we move forward through the process of instituting the portrait of graduate. And then secondly, I've been in contact with Congressman Mannion's office and Senator Griffo's office, and I have confirmation from both of those offices that they will be visiting our school.
Yay.
Yep, so we are working on a date and time, and I'll keep you informed once we have those solidified and confirmed. But they are both very excited to visit our district, so that'll be great.
We'd love to attend them.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yep,
Thank you.
yep, you're welcome.
And as we did last year, when the governor, or somebody was here, the regent was here, we'll make some tours through the school so they can see different classrooms
Yep.
and such.
Yep.
And so,
That's
depending on who's available, I don't know if necessarily all 5 of us need to be there, but it doesn't mean we can't be. But we'll see who's available, but we'll definitely want Lily to be a part of those, so we can skip those classes, obviously.
And Senator Griffo will be delivering a proclamation to both the boys soccer team and softball team for their state championship.
Yeah, so-
Great.
So that's really nice.
Exciting.
That's it for me.
All right. Administrative reports, they were put on
Yep.
time for us. Any questions for those that are here or that Bill might be able to answer for us? Any
Heather
comments?
is our AD tonight, so she's out at the soccer game. Mark and Chris and Kevin, I don't know where.
Questions, comments?
Thank you.
Thank you guys very much. Your turn.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Couple quick things.
Oh, I skipped athletic report. Sorry. Did anybody see? I'm interrupting him. Anybody have anything for athletic report? Sorry. Okay, your turn now.
Great, thank you.
Yep, I mean it.
I'm sure you saw the correspondence from Isabel earlier in the week. There's been some questions on the effect of the federal government shutdown and what effect, if any, that might have on public education, specifically in New York State, and as it pertains to funding. The good news for us here in Hamilton, it really, as of now, it won't have any effect on us. The two primary sources of federal funding we receive are ESSA funds, which are Title I funds, and IDEA funds. those are what are considered forward funded programs, so those funds really don't come until the end of the year, next July 1, when those appropriations are made. So as of right now, there's really no need for concern or suspect any impact on federal funding. Obviously, the longer it goes and the more it may extend, it could change, but as of right now, there's no impact. Electric bus update. We're slowly moving forward, making progress. We had engineers on site September 16th and 17th from Polera, which is the third-party consulting firm that NYSERDA is assigned to us to conduct our electrification study. So they were on site, took a look at our infrastructure and the service coming into our property. So by all accounts, that went well. There weren't any, I didn't spend a lot of time with them, but there weren't any like major red flags like, what are we going to do? So I know they probably had some questions for the village and the electric utility, and they are working on sort of tying together what they learned via our fleet study and now looking at the actual service and the electrification and tying that all together for ultimately what we need to do or what we need to do to prepare for electric buses. So moving forward there.
Thank you for that.
November 13th at our next meeting at 5, our auditors will be there to report our 2025 fiscal year financials and audit report. And believe it or not, in November I will have a budget calendar for you to do. So,
'Tis the season.
It's the season, so it'll be coming quickly. We're moving right along. So,
Yeah.
that's it for me. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Questions for Matt? See, he runs away because he doesn't want the question. No questions? That means it's Rory's turn.
I just wanted to say that most students have been doing a good job following the cell phone policy, which has really helped reduce distractions in class and create a more focused learning environment, so that's good. There's also been a lot of excitement building up around the upcoming club fair. I think it'll be a great opportunity for underclassmen and new students to get more involved and branch out and meet more people outside their usual circles. And it'll be a great way to build a community early on in the year. One challenge I've heard from students, especially from juniors and seniors, is around registering for Colgate courses. While it's an amazing opportunity, students who don't already have connection to someone familiar with the process often feel left out or confused with everything altogether. So a possible solution could be to hold an assembly or information session that walks students through the process step by step. So this could maybe include how to apply, deadlines, eligibility, and who to reach out for questions. And I think this should be targeted towards more juniors and seniors, at least for now. And I think this would make the opportunity more accessible and inclusive for everyone, regardless of whether they know someone who's done it before or someone who's been familiar with the process. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions for Lily? All right. Now it's time for our knowledge sharing. Elementary steering, secondary steering?
Yes, both me.
Yeah.
Let's see. Elementary steering, we reviewed we're going to review the shared decision-making plan. We've got a couple new members that are joining from parent groups, and so yeah, it was a good first meeting. We kind of reviewed what we did last year to kind of bring everybody up to speed. We got, I think Heather applied for a couple of different summer grants over the summer, so she's waiting to hear back on them. One of them is like a community cafe that gives grant money to have like a parents' night or a parent cafe where they can come in and discuss various things. And then she did another grant to the community foundation to try to get microphones, something, because the cafeteria project did not get approved. So, but she keeps applying. So she's, and then we kind of talked a little bit about what we're going to discuss this year. And one of the bigger topics was discussing AI and how to kind of use that and incorporate that starting in elementary. So that, I think Mr. Rogers is going to do some education around that, and then how to kind of incorporate that at age appropriately at all the different grade levels, because it's not going away, and it's, you know, it's on everybody's mind. So that was elementary. And then high school, it was a very small group. I think there were just 3 of us. But we kind of discussed what they were working on last year, and then talking about like capstone project, maybe trying to work toward, that was an idea, I think, of something that we were going to kind of work toward this year, taking ideas on how to make that happen for more.
Is there any thought about trying to bring more people into that group?
I think so. There were game conflicts or some, there were conflicts, I think,
Yeah,
last
there were
time.
some conflicts, and we could have reached out.
Yeah.
Good.
But I think one of the student member also brought up the what you just mentioned about getting, trying to make it easier to apply for or to register for those Colgate classes. And there was some talk about kind of working that into the counseling office and having a link on the page, so.
Inclusivity.
Can I just jump in?
Oh, yeah.
In reference to AI, so Corey and one of his colleagues have offered to do a presentation for our faculty and staff. So we are looking at some dates to try to finalize that presentation. So that'll be upcoming. So hopefully that'll check what you were looking for or discussing at the steering team. So I think it'd be great for our faculty. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about the presentation.
Yeah, so a colleague and I, we both have been working on AI, and we both gave presentations at a conference this summer. She's at Cornell, and we had talked about combining our presentations. We're going to and doing something at a conference in February in New York City, and I said, why don't you come down here and we'll do it at the school and see how it goes, because it'd be useful. The conference we're going to is more K-12 focused, so it'll be a similar audience. And so the idea is that it would give an overview of like just what fundamentally how does generative AI work, how does it work, and then thinking about what does it do, what can it do, and then helping articulate. So what's the role of teachers now? How do you define what your role is when if AI can do this stuff and students can get help with AI? How do you redefine or articulate at least the role that teachers have within this kind of educational environment?
Yeah. Another kind of interesting example, it was a writing sample that then was fed into, for review and it came back with all these different, you did a great job with this, this, and this, and then here are some ways to improve it. But there was another comment that she had heard, which was, why isn't the teacher reviewing my work? And kind of, so there's the kind of that dynamic too to consider.
Yeah.
Students feeling like they're being, graded by a machine versus a teacher. So it's kind of a fine line to walk.
Yeah, also some ethical considerations, I think, about putting a student's work into an AI system that then uses that as data.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of important questions to ask there.
Glad we're looking at it from a couple different angles. That's great. Inclusivity committee meets next week.
Next Wednesday at 5:30.
Could we add something about policy committee?
Yeah.
For you here, just to let you know. So we've been working with NISBA to review our policy handbook in total, which is going to mean that they're going to start giving us big batches of basically rewrites of all of our policies. Most of them will not have a substantial change to them, but we're going to have a lot more of those going through.
So you're telling us we need to start paying attention and reading.
You're going to pay attention, but we're also not we're not thinking of this as like we're wordsmithing everything to be 100% perfect. We'll review everything and make sure it matches with our old policy, that's not fundamentally changing anything, and that it's not changing, that matches the thing we're already doing, the practices we already have in school. Which they should be tailoring it to be that way. The words will be much different because their style is different, but I think also more readable. So you might see a lot, but don't think of it as like you have to go over these with a fine-tooth comb. It's like we often do with a brand new policy that we're trying to
Okay.
vet.
Yeah.
Because they should be fundamentally the same.
Well, thank you
And we're gonna
guys.
have a lot.
Yeah.
We're basically gonna be
Yeah.
and there's gonna be a lot that we're gonna be getting rid of.
Yeah.
That might be the first,
Yep.
one of the first things we're doing.
And our goal is, by the end of the year to have a clean policy manual
Very
for the
exciting.
district, so,
That's
yeah,
Very nice.
Yep.
Thank you guys.
a lot of work.
Yep.
Long time coming for that.
Yes.
The last couple policy committees, the last couple of years, I'd say last 5 or so years, we've been really working to get to this point.
Yep.
To clean them up on our side, to now be able to do this, and to really get there. So thanks to all involved for this big undertaking. Advocacy.
I don't have a lot. We had our final resolutions committee meeting. It was literally the shortest NISPA ever meeting that I've had. We were over in like 17 minutes. We really didn't make any changes from our first committee meeting. That was not 17 minutes long. So we're gearing up for the annual business meeting that's coming. So just to remind everyone, if you guys could go through the proposed bylaw amendments and resolutions and get those to me by the 14th next week. Again, I'll combine those all together, and that's how I will submit our vote for our district.
Do you want to send those along for Lily to check out too?
Perfect. Will do.
Because it would be good to have her understanding of those, to have an idea, and either ask Bill questions or send them to you. But her questions could actually bring up some important points for your
Absolutely.
meeting.
Yep.
So a little reading for you, but.
And I'll walk through it with you very quickly, because just to like send it, you're gonna be like, what did she just send me? So I'll brief you very quickly.
Jen, can I just add one thing on advocacy? When I was in Albany last week, Senator Mayer, who is the chair of the Education Committee, spoke to us about the upcoming budget process, and she warned us to brace ourselves if the federal cuts for Medicaid trickle to the state level, then it could be a very difficult budget season, and because that money has to come from the state budget, which will then pull from the education budget. So she said, that's when we're gonna have to really kick into gear advocacy and get to our local politicians and really push for that not to happen, so.
Yeah.
Or correct.
To add to that, I've been on a couple calls with a couple different legislators, and I'm getting the same message.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
it's coming.
Thank you, thank you. More discussion. I don't think we have one this month.
No.
Do we have a board discussion this month? I'm the one that puts it on here. Great discussion. All right, that brings us to our public participation. If anybody would like to come to the podium, please do so. But remember, our policy, that will eventually get changed slightly, floor is open. Seeing nobody moving or anything online, we will take a recess after we adjourn or move to go to executive session. So I need a motion to enter into executive session to discuss matters pertaining to current or ongoing litigation and employment of particular individuals.
I'll move.
All those in favor?
Aye.
10-minute recess. Thank you all very much for coming. And to those in class, you guys lucked out. It was a pretty short meeting.